Even Ray Fisher was trending today for like no real reason.
Well, they were trying to get him to trend in order to like, because the flash set photos were coming out, and they were like, hey, you know, we don't want to support this movie because if Ray's not here, that leaves a massive hole in the heart of the film. Because he was supposed to be here celebrating this with us, you know?
Yeah, but I'll be honest, like, I'll just say it. Again, you know what? Like, you speak up and it can cost you. And that's what it cost him.
It's not fair, though. That's the thing.
It's not fair. It's not fair, but it's business. And that is the reality. That is the truth. Hollywood isn't fair. It's a business. You know what I mean? And I'm just saying that is the reality of the situation. How many people have been effed over by Hollywood, by the industry, by the system for a multitude of different reasons? You know, like how many people have been screwed over? A lot, because it's all business. And the thing is, you know, Ray had a point, and he went out there and he made the statements, and he got the investigation, and he got remedial action that we're not entirely too sure what it is, but we have a general idea at this point. And then he's still poking the bear. So what makes you fucking think he's still going to be working with him if he's still poking the bear? I mean, like, they're just not going to do it because it's bad PR.
I get it. Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right, but that's the reality. That's just the reality. Like, you know what? If Ray really wanted to be in the movie, he could have been in the movie. He could have still gone out, got his investigation, played it up, got the exposure that he wanted to get from it, which would have been drawing attention to Joss Whedon, Jeff Johns, John Berg. Those were the three people that he was going after. Hamada offered him the role as, yeah, definitely kind of like a hush-hush payment sort of thing, but he still would have gotten those guys out of there or gotten that kind of pressure. Instead, he chose to turn it down. Right? Now, if you want to argue that's his ethics, and I agree that they are his ethics, then that's fine. And he probably did the right thing. But that was still his choice. That was still his choice. And then he has consistently been a thorn in their side ever since. So there's literally no way that they would ever work with them again. And I saw this from even, Scott Mendelson, who I don't think has very many good takes, but I agreed with him here. He said, Warner should just like cut Ray Fisher a check for $2 million, get him set up at another studio, and then just be done with it. And that is quite frankly the best.
But hold on though, he's not like, you don't buy a guy out like that though. That's
no, but you pay him, because that's the thing. Either way, do you really think Discovery is going to care? No,
I mean, I'm not saying they're going to care. But...
They're not going to care. They're not going to care because, for one, there's a lot of money at play. There's a lot of money on the table. All right, like they're investing $20 billion. You know, what is it? Zaslav and John Stanky are good friends. So that was the whole thing about merging the companies.
But I'm just saying, you don't think if there's like a change in the regimen, any regard that re-examines what happened, they will be like, hey, Ray.
Not at all. Not at all.
Even if someone new takes over and everyone else is
not at all. No.
Why? Why wouldn't they look at that? It's good fan PR.
Because it's easier for them if it just goes away. It's easier for them at this point to just stop acknowledging and to move on.
What if it just gets bigger though? What if it keeps getting louder?
It won't, because here's the thing. There's a threshold for this. There's a threshold. There's always a threshold of activism. There is. Again, I'm being legitimately honest here. There's always a threshold for activism. You have a certain window of time when people care. If you are unable to get the results you want in that period of time, you either have to keep going and wait for another period of time, which can be who knows when, in order to get the right circumstances to have it tie back in order to get that flare up, which is basically what he's attempting to do. Or it goes on for so long that the general populace stops caring. And since he's trying to have accountability, but he hasn't stated, at least as far as I've seen, and maybe someone will correct me, and I'm sure Enosh will, I haven't seen what that accountability means from him. And that becomes the issue. When you ask him, what do you want? And it's just accountability. Well, what does that look like to you? That's where I'm at.
I think ultimately he wants an apology for them to admit that what they did was wrong.
And a business is never going to really admit that they were wrong. They fired the party. That's what they're gonna fall back on if it ever comes up in a way.
But there was no public apology though. That's the thing. They never said we're sorry this happened.
It was also under a previous company. That's their defense. And I think that's a relatively, I don't want to say a fair defense, but it's an interesting one, because by the time this goes to the next regime, we're going to be like three companies later.
Yeah, isn't the merger getting done like what, next summer?
Next
Is their goal?
next year. Yeah, next year.
Okay.
And you know what? Here's the thing is Hamada's still in charge. He ain't going anywhere. They just re-upped him for 3 years. And I think they re-upped him for 3 years as kind of a fuck you to Ray. I think they did. I think they re-upped him as kind of a fuck you.
Can't they buy out his contract though and say, "Oh, we want someone else to run the division"? Though, is that
why would they? Why would they? He was brought in to cut costs. He was brought in to cut costs.
Theoretically, let's say like the next DC movies don't do well. I'm not saying they will. I think they will be successful. Let's say they don't. Won't they look at the financial sheets and be like, "Okay, let's get new leadership in here to retry this again"? Or do you think they're just going to look at it and say, maybe this didn't work out, but he's got a plan anyway. Let's keep the ship steady, basically.
I think they're not going to want to rock the boat and reboot it again. Although they should. They really should at this point. Just reboot everything.